When my father announced he was cutting me out of the family business, I smiled because he didn't know the woman he just erased was already building something bigger. They took everything from me: my title, my trust, my name. So I created a new one. And when I returned, I didn't come for revenge, I came for the empire that should have been mine. I'm Amelia Rhodes. And this is how I became the CEO of my father's company without him ever knowing it was me. Before we dive in, hit subscribe to Family Feud Files, where real stories of betrayal, revenge, and redemption come to life. Today, you'll hear how one daughter, erased from her own family business, rose to secretly build an empire bigger than her father's and then confronted them all. Watch closely, this is a story of cunning, courage, and ultimate redemption. The night it all began didn't feel like a war. It felt like a reunion. The Rhodes family dinners were always grand chandeliers, expensive wine, and polite conversations that felt rehearsed. My father, Charles Rhodes, believed every meal was a board meeting. And that night, I walked into his mansion thinking we were celebrating another successful quarter. I should have known better. The long mahogany table stretched across the dining hall, glittering with silver cutlery and crystal glasses. My brothers, Nathan and Greg, sat across from me, both dressed like clones of our father, navy suits and smug smiles. My mother was there too, quiet as always. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted the napkin in her lap. That should have been my first clue. Amelia, my father said, raising his glass. His voice carried that same cold charm that could sell anything: stocks, lies, or love. To family. We all raised our glasses. But before I could sip, he added, and to new beginnings. There was a pause. Then he set his glass down. Effective immediately, I'll be retiring as CEO of Rhodes Technologies. I froze, heart lifting. Finally, I thought. He's passing it down. But then Nathan leaned forward with a smirk. And we're proud to continue your vision, Dad. We? My father nodded. I've decided to hand the company to your brothers. They'll take it from here. It took a second for the words to sink in. My voice came out softer than I expected. What about me? My father didn't flinch. You've done good work, Amelia. But leadership requires endurance. And your choices have made it clear you're not ready. I blinked. My choices? Nathan laughed quietly. You mean when you turned down that merger? Dad still hasn't forgiven you for that one. I turned to him, fury building in my chest. The merger would have destroyed the company's patents. You know that. But my father was already shaking his head. You've always been emotional about business. And that's fine, but not for a Rhodes CEO. The table went silent. I looked at my mother, she stared down at her plate. Greg's smirk widened. Something inside me cracked. So that's it? I said, standing. You're erasing me because I didn't agree with you? My father's tone hardened. I'm protecting the company from your mistakes. My hands trembled, but my voice stayed steady. You're not protecting it. You're protecting your ego. The air went cold. Nathan leaned back. Don't take it personally, sis. You'll still get your dividends. Be grateful. I stared at all of them, three men who shared my blood but none of my backbone. Then I said something I didn't plan to. One day, you'll wish I was still part of this family. My father scoffed. That sounds like a threat. It's not, I said, grabbing my coat. It's a promise. And I walked out, not realizing I'd just set the future in motion. 2 months after that dinner, the world still called me the Forgotten Rhodes. Investors whispered, journalists speculated, and my brothers basked in attention like golden suns. But behind those headlines, I was building something no one could trace. I left the Rhodes mansion the same night I was cut off. I moved into a small apartment in downtown Chicago, a far cry from marble floors and private chauffeurs. My father thought stripping me of money would end my influence. He forgot that my power was never in his bank account. It was in my brain. The idea came to me on a sleepless night, an idea that could rip the foundation of Rhodes Technologies apart. They built their empire on artificial intelligence for security systems. I'd build mine on AI for human trust. Systems that could detect dishonesty, track emotion, and predict betrayal before it happened. My father always believed machines should protect property. I believed they should protect people. I called the company Novatech Labs. No last names. No public founder. Just a vision. I used my personal savings, what little I had, and pitched to underground investors. People who didn't care about family politics. I worked day and night from a shared workspace with flickering lights and broken chairs. When I slept, I dreamt of my father's cold eyes. When I woke, I built. One afternoon, as I was coding in the corner of a cafe, a man sat across from me without asking. Late 30s, worn leather jacket, eyes too sharp for a casual coffee drinker. You're Amelia Rhodes, he said quietly. I froze. You're mistaken. He smiled slightly. You really think a fake LinkedIn name and a burner email can hide you from everyone? Relax. I'm not here to expose you. I didn't answer. He slid a card across the table. Ethan Cross, venture analyst. I've been watching Rhodes Technologies for years, he said. And I noticed something strange: their patents are getting weaker. You were the one behind their real innovation, weren't you? I hesitated, then nodded once. He leaned back. Good. Because I don't invest in ghosts. I invest in comebacks. That line stuck with me. He offered funding, quiet, discreet, no public record. But he had one condition. You don't just build a company. You build a weapon. Within 6 months, Novatech launched its first product, Veriskin, an AI software that analyzed microexpressions during virtual meetings to detect deceit. Rhodes Technologies laughed at it. Until one of their biggest clients switched to us. That was the moment I knew my revenge wasn't going to be loud. It was going to be invisible. By the end of the year, I watched from my office window as the Rhodes building, that tall glass tower with my father's name on it, flickered in the distance. News broke out that their latest security AI had failed during a government trial. Investors panicked. Stocks dipped. And my brothers were fighting each other on live television about who was to blame. But I didn't celebrate. Not yet. I had bigger plans, not to destroy them but to own them. No one knew who owned Novatech. I'd created an alias, Mira Lane. A digital ghost with a fake history and AI-generated photos. Every deal, every contract, every statement went through Mira. Even Ethan never met her. Only me, Amelia, the silent partner behind the curtain. And it worked. Within 2 years, Novatech became a rising name in AI. Investors called Mira the mysterious genius who changed ethics in tech. Meanwhile, Rhodes Technologies bled quietly. My father kept calling me not to apologize, but to complain about his board, his sons, the market. I answered politely, like a distant daughter. He still thought I was unemployed. Each time he hung up, I whispered, "You'll see me again, Dad. Just not the way you." It started with a whisper, one email, one transfer, one quiet move at a time. While my father fought to keep Rhodes Technologies afloat, I was becoming its largest unseen shareholder. Every month, Ethan and I acquired small blocks of stock through shell companies. We used offshore names, layers of ownership so tangled even the SEC wouldn't untie them easily. When you've been invisible all your life, invisibility becomes a weapon. My brothers Daniel and Luke were still parading around as if they'd built the company themselves. Daniel spent more time at yacht parties than in board meetings. Luke thought strategy meant reading motivational quotes on LinkedIn. Their arrogance was predictable. Their ignorance profitable. Inside sources told me the company was burning cash. My father refused to modernize. He was too proud to admit his systems were outdated. Meanwhile, Novatech's Veriskin 2.0 was being adopted by law enforcement and Fortune 500 companies. Ethan called one night, voice low. "They'll come to you soon, Amelia. When they do, don't show mercy." But I wasn't ready to destroy them yet. I wanted something more painful, their recognition. By the 3rd year, Rhodes Technologies was desperate. A new board member, a sharp woman named Victoria Kane, began whispering about a possible acquisition. Her words spread like fire. Who would buy a sinking ship? Through Novatech's investment arm, she submitted an offer to buy a 51% controlling stake in Rhodes Technologies. It was bold. Ruthless. Exactly what my father would have done if he'd seen me as his equal. The offer shook the board. News outlets speculated about Novatech's mysterious female CEO challenging the Rhodes dynasty. Dad called me that night, his voice unsteady. "Amelia, can you believe this? Some ghost company trying to take us over. This is what happens when you raise cowards." He didn't know that Ghost was his own daughter. Returned to the Rhodes headquarters for the first time in 4 years. Walking through those glass doors felt like trespassing into a memory. The receptionist didn't recognize me. Good. Every step echoed same marble floors. Same framed pictures of my brothers. Same empty wall where my graduation photo had once hung. I stopped in front of my father's office. He looked older, smaller. The man who once ruled entire boardrooms now sat hunched behind papers and pills. "Amelia?" His voice cracked. "What are you doing here?" "I came to see how you're holding up." He gave a bitter laugh. "Everyone's leaving me. You included." I wanted to tell him everything that I never left. That I'd been watching, building, waiting. Instead, I said, "Maybe some losses are necessary, Dad." He looked at me for a long time. "You sound like your mother." For a second, I forgot why I came. Then Ethan's message buzzed on my phone. "Board votes next week. If he doesn't sell, the company goes under." And the softness vanished. Sleep became impossible. My mind kept replaying the same image, my father's hands trembling as he tried to sign documents. His eyes tired, yet still proud. What if I was becoming him? Ethan noticed my hesitation. You've already won, he said. You don't owe them mercy. But I did. Or maybe I wanted mercy to look like revenge, something beautiful and cruel at once. At 3 a.m., I drafted an email as Mira Lane to the board. I hit send. The boardroom felt colder than I remembered. My father sat at the head, his once commanding voice replaced by silence. Victoria Kane read the numbers aloud. Majority vote, approved. Rhodes Technologies was now property of Novatech. I expected triumph. I felt emptiness. My father stared at the documents. Realization dawning slowly, his empire gone. Swallowed by a name he didn't know. He didn't fight. He just whispered, whoever she is, she's good. And for the first time, I wanted to cry. That night, I met Ethan on the rooftop of Novatech HQ, city lights pulsed below like a heartbeat. It's done, he said. You own them. I know. He looked at me carefully. You're going to tell him, aren't you? I nodded. Then be ready, he said. Some truths don't heal. They burn. I didn't sleep the night before I told him. You'd think power would taste like victory. It doesn't. It tastes like static, bitter, endless, loud in your head. Rain tapped the glass of my office as I rehearsed what I would say. Every version sounded wrong. Too cruel, too weak, too late. When I finally called my father, my voice came out steady. Dad, I need to see you. It's important. He sighed. If this is about the company, I'm done talking about it. It's not about the company, I lied. It's about family. He hesitated. Then, come to the house. The Rhodes estate looked smaller than I remembered. Maybe because I'd grown, or maybe because time had stripped it of its power. Inside, the fireplace was still burning even though it was spring. My father sat in his old leather chair, wrapped in a blanket. Amelia, he said softly. You look tired. So do you. He laughed. Losing a company will do that. The air between us thickened. I heard the new owner's some ghost CEO, he muttered. A woman. Figures. Women ruin everything. I almost walked out right then. But instead, I said quietly. Maybe she saved it. He frowned. You know her? I do. A pause. Then his voice sharpened. Who is she? I met his eyes. She's me. For a full minute, he didn't move. Then he laughed, that bitter, barking sound I grew up fearing. You expect me to believe that? I don't care if you believe it. The documents will convince you. The Rhodes name belongs to Novatech now. And Novatech belongs to me. His laughter broke. You did this? I built something from nothing. You just didn't notice. He gripped the armrest, veins rising under his skin. After everything I gave you. You gave me nothing. The words tore out of me. You cut me out of your will. You told me I wasn't good enough for your business, your legacy, your name. So I built my own. His eyes glistened. Why? He whispered. Just to humiliate me? I hesitated. To make you see me. He rose slowly, the blanket falling away. You could have joined me, Amelia. You could have saved this family. I tried. You wouldn't let me. He shook his head. I was protecting you. From what? I asked. From becoming me. For a second, neither of us spoke. The storm outside swallowed our words. You think this is victory? He said finally. You've become the same monster you hated. I wanted to deny it. But he was right. He reached for the glass of water beside him, his hand trembling, and then suddenly. It slipped. The glass shattered. He gasped, chest tightening, clutching his heart. Dad. I rushed forward. The scene blurred, the rain, the firelight, the panic. He collapsed into my arms. I'm fine, he rasped, but I could hear the lie. I called for help. The paramedics came within minutes. Their footsteps echoing through the house like ghosts. As they carried him out, he gripped my wrist. Don't lose yourself, he whispered. Don't turn victory into a cage. Then he was gone, swallowed by flashing red lights. Stood alone in that old house, the place that raised me. Rejected me, and now felt like a tomb. The fire crackled. The rain stopped. Phone buzzed. Ethan. It's done. The press wants a statement. Should we announce you as the real owner now? I looked out the window at the retreating ambulance. No, I said quietly. Not yet. Because revenge wasn't over. Not until I understood what I'd actually won. Hospitals have their own kind of silence. Not peaceful, just suspended. Machines hum softly, clocks tick too loud. And everyone pretends they aren't waiting for something they can't control. My father had survived the heart attack. Barely. The doctor said recovery would be slow. I told them I'd handle his bills, his care, everything. They didn't need to know I now owned the company, paying for it all. He was asleep when I visited that first night. Even hooked to monitors. He still looked like the man who built empires, but smaller now. Like the storm had passed through him and left only the outline. I stood there for a long time before I spoke. I won, Dad. But I don't know what I won. 2 days later, Ethan burst into my office. He didn't knock. You're trending. He dropped a tablet on my desk. My face stared back from every business headline. Novatech's secret CEO revealed Amelia Rhodes, daughter of the man she ousted. The photos were old graduation, charity events, a blurry shot outside the hospital. The story had spread too fast to stop. Comment sections turned into war zones. Some called me a genius, others called me a snake. Reporters camped outside Novatech. Investors called nonstop. Ethan grinned. Congratulations. You're officially the most powerful woman in tech. I didn't smile. Power was never the problem. Control was. Daniel called first. His voice was full of poison. You humiliated us. Do you have any idea what the press is saying? I didn't leak it. Doesn't matter. You took everything from Dad. I wanted to tell him I'd also saved their family's legacy, paid their debts, and rebuilt what they had destroyed. But they didn't want facts. They wanted someone to hate. Luke didn't even call. He just posted a statement online, pretending to defend our father while using it to promote his own side projects. For the first time, I realized revenge had made them predictable and me lonely. A week later, Victoria, Kane, the board member who'd once whispered about the takeover, requested a meeting. She was sharp as ever, eyes cold but curious. Impressive work, she said. You played the long game. Most people don't have that kind of patience. It wasn't a game. She tilted her head. Everything's a game, Amelia. You just changed the rules. I didn't respond. Then she smiled faintly. You know, your father's reputation may never recover. But yours? It's only beginning. If you want, we can rebrand the company. Novatech by Rhodes. The redemption arc sells. Her words landed like glass in my chest. The redemption arc sells. Not heals. Not restores. Sells. I thanked her and left. That night, I went back to the hospital. My father was awake this time, eyes heavy but clear. You made the news, he said. His voice was rough, thin. I saw. He gestured weakly toward the screen on the wall, a news anchor replaying. Footage of me entering Novatech HQ. They're calling you the Ice Queen of Tech Fitting, I suppose. I stayed silent. Then he asked, was it worth it? The question hung there. I wanted to defend myself, to say yes, to say you deserved it. But instead, I said the only honest thing I could. I don't know. He looked at me for a long time, then closed his eyes. When I was your age, I destroyed my father's company to build my own. Thought I was proving something too. What happened? I won, he said. And I never spoke to him again. He reached for my hand, his skin paper thin and cold. Don't make the same mistake. Weeks passed. The press calmed. Stocks stabilized. Novatech thrived under my name. Now investors loved a scandal that ended in profit. But every success felt hollow. I stopped sleeping again. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that moment, my father falling, the glass shattering. The look on his face when I said she's me. Ethan noticed. You got what you wanted, he said. Why are you acting like you lost? Because I did. He frowned. You're not making sense. I turned to him. You ever build something so perfectly that it kills everything around it? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. One morning, a nurse handed me a sealed envelope. Your father asked us to give you this. The handwriting was shaky, the ink fading. Amelia, you always were the smartest of them. I should have said it when it mattered. Maybe I thought withholding it would make you try harder. Maybe I was just scared you'd surpass me and you did. I don't know if I can fix what I broke. But if there's still room for one more truth, here it is. You were never nothing. Dad. The paper trembled in my hands. For the first time in years, I cried not out of rage or victory, but relief. A month after the headlines faded, I drove out to the rehab center where my father was recovering. The road curved through bare winter trees, quiet and cold. It felt like starting over. When I stepped into his room, he was sitting by the window, sunlight on his face. No machines now, just a heart monitor ticking slow and steady. He looked up and smiled, faintly. You came. Of course. I wasn't sure. People don't usually visit the men they destroy. That's not why I'm here. He nodded, eyes back on the snow outside. I know. You're here because you're tired. We sat in silence for a while. The air smelled like antiseptic and pine from the little Christmas tree on his table. I read your letter, I said finally. It helped. He didn't look at me. I meant it. I believe you. He exhaled slowly. You know, I always thought control was love. If I could manage something, a business, a family, it couldn't hurt me. Did it work? He gave a small smile. You tell me. I didn't answer. He leaned forward, voice low. You did what I couldn't. You built something bigger than me. But if all it gives you is loneliness, then it's not worth keeping. I don't know how to stop, I admitted. Then start differently. When I got home, I went into the old study I hadn't touched in years. On the shelf, covered in dust, was my first prototype, the AI module that became the heart of Novatech. It still worked, though the screen flickered when I turned it on. Lines of old code scrolled up, crude and simple compared to what we had now. It was like looking at a photograph of your younger self, imperfect, but honest. That night, I called a meeting. Ethan, the board, the department heads, all of them. I've made a decision, I said. We're launching a new branch, a nonprofit under Novatech. It'll use our technology for medical research, early diagnosis, social care. Real people, not just corporations. Ethan blinked. You're giving it away? I'm giving it purpose. There was a long silence. Then, slowly, they nodded. Spring came early that year. The first day the doctors let my father out. He asked to see the office, the new Novatech headquarters. When he arrived, he stopped at the lobby, staring at the silver letters on the wall. Novatech A. Rhodes Foundation Company. He read it twice. Then he turned to me, eyes wet. You didn't erase us. I tried. It didn't work. He laughed softly. Good. I always liked stubbornness in this family. We walked the halls together. Employees glanced up, whispering, some recognizing him, some not. He paused in front of the glass conference room where I'd made my first pitch. You really did all this? He asked. With a few sleepless nights. He nodded. I'm proud of you, Amelia. That was all I ever wanted to hear. 6 months later, Novatech's medical branch launched its first project, AI systems for early heart disease detection. My father was the first test case. He stood on stage beside me during the announcement, frail but smiling for the cameras. This company was built on second chances, he told the crowd. I got one because of her. Applause filled the hall. I felt something in my chest loosen, not victory, not relief, just peace. When the cameras turned away, he leaned closer. You were right, you know. Machines shouldn't protect property. They should protect people. I smiled. You remembered. I never forgot. I just wasn't ready to admit it. The night of the launch, I stood on the rooftop again, same view. Same city, different feeling. Ethan joined me, hands in his pockets. So this is it? He asked. The end of the revenge story? I thought about it. No, I said. It's the beginning of the next one. He raised an eyebrow. Against who? Against who I used to be. We both laughed quietly, the sound drifting into the wind. Below us, the city lights shimmered like a circuit board, alive, pulsing, full of imperfect beauty. And for the first time in years, I wasn't chasing anything. I was simply here. The city felt different in the early morning. The streets were quieter, the lights softer, as if the world itself had exhaled. I walked through Novatech HQ, past the glass walls that reflected the skyline. For years, these corridors had been my battlefield, battles fought in silence. In spreadsheets, in legal documents, and late-night coding sessions. But now, it felt like a home. I paused outside the conference room where the nonprofit project's launch had taken place. Photographs of smiling patients lined the walls, lives changed by technology I had built. And in each of those faces, I saw what true victory meant. Not stocks. Not power. Not revenge. My father asked to walk with me that morning, around the building's rooftop terrace. He moved slower now, but his eyes still carried the sharp intelligence I had inherited. You've done more than I ever imagined, he said quietly. I smiled faintly. I only did what I should have done years ago. You taught me that much, at least. He chuckled, a warm sound that filled the empty space. I was a terrible teacher, you know. I thought I was guiding you, but all I did was make you fight me. You made me fight for myself, I said. And I finally understand that lesson. He nodded. I see that. And I'm proud more than I ever said. We stood there for a long time, the wind brushing past us. The city beneath sparkling like circuitry. No words were needed. Later that week, I called a special board meeting. This time, it wasn't about acquisitions, patents, or shareholder votes. It was about reconciliation and the future. My father sat in the room, quiet but present. Nathan and Greg were there too, awkward in their suits, realizing perhaps for the first time that life could move forward without ego dictating the steps. I've decided, I began, that Novatech isn't just a company. It's a responsibility. And part of that responsibility is family, real family, not just legacy and shares. My father smiled faintly. I'd say it's about time. I explained the plan for mentorship programs, family inclusion and advisory roles, and ways for them to contribute meaningfully without overstepping. They were hesitant, but slowly, acceptance grew. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But it was progress. Sitting in my office later, I reflected on the journey. I had been erased, belittled, ignored. I had built an empire from nothing, exacted quiet revenge, and claimed what was always rightfully mine. And yet, in that moment, I realized that the sweetest victory wasn't in ownership or control. It was in understanding, in connection, in leaving something better than destruction behind. I typed a message to Ethan. Prepare the press release for the nonprofit expansion. And thank you for everything. He replied instantly, you've rewritten history. I leaned back, letting the sunlight wash over my desk. Yes, history had been rewritten. But not with vengeance alone. With care. With foresight. With compassion. That night, I penned a letter to my future self. Dear Amelia, remember this: power is fleeting. Revenge fades. Legacy endures. Make sure your victories leave room for love, for understanding, for those you care about. And never forget the hardest battles are the ones we fight within ourselves. I signed it, folded it, and placed it in my desk. Not to keep the past alive, but to remind myself of what truly mattered. Walking to the rooftop once more, the city glimmering beneath, I felt a sense of calm I hadn't known in years. The empire I had built, the family I had confronted, the battles I had won, all of it had led me here. I didn't need applause. I didn't need headlines. I just needed to know that I had chosen wisely, that my revenge had become redemption, and that I could move forward without being haunted by the past. The wind whispered around me, carrying the faint hum of the city's heartbeat. I smiled, closing my eyes. For the first time, I wasn't chasing anything. I was home. If you were inspired by Amelia's story of revenge turned redemption, don't forget to subscribe to Family Feud Files. Hit the bell icon to never miss stories of betrayal, family drama, and ultimate comebacks.